Hello, students. This is Miss Brown speaking. Today we are going to do a little review for your test. Now, as I mentioned, your test is going to be moved to Friday, and I am cutting down on the number of questions, so it's not really a test, it's more of a quiz. There are 13 questions here that I've cut down that big long list I had into, so I have 13 now. Out of these 13, I'll pick 10 of them to be on your test. I'm giving you the opportunity today to take whatever notes you want in your social studies notebook, which you're going to keep in that folder you have. If you don't have a social studies folder, please see me. All right? But I'm going to give you the chance today to take any notes you want, because the only thing you will be allowed to use tomorrow is your notebook. Yes, I am letting you use your notebook on the quiz. So I am expecting a lot of hundreds. So take good notes for me, all right? Here we go. Unit 2 review, and I will stop every couple questions and give you a chance to write things down. Especially because I know there's some of you that like to write a lot. 10 pages of notes a lot. Every word I say a lot. So I'll make sure that I give you plenty of time to write. Okay. Native Americans in North Carolina. Or I should say American Indians in North Carolina, excuse me. This section is, I chose only a couple questions because we already took a test on the Cherokee. So we've already actually covered a lot of this on a test you already took before Thanksgiving. I know that was so long ago. But that's what we did. So I'm only going to pick, maybe one or two of these. This will be the section where I do not pick all three. So I'm going to give you that heads up, but I would still write them all down because you don't know which one or two I'm going to write or pick. Excuse me. So now, with that said, 3 language groups. Oops, sorry, snowing. And Miss Brown cannot spell today. So we have the Sonoans. That's one language group. Then we have the Algonquin. And the Iroquois. Or it should be Algonquian, as in the language. Algonquin is the name of the tribe. So we have the Sonoan, Algonquian, and Iroquoian. All right. So those are the 3 main language groups. So the basic thing I want you to remember is that not every American Indian living in North Carolina was a Cherokee, even though the Cherokee are one of the ones that we studied in depth. There are also others, as some of you know, as I'm sure many of you know, there are other tribes that existed in North Carolina, that lived in North Carolina. So, we have the 3 main language groups. Remember, different groups, different customs, they have different ways of lives. Not every American Indian lived the same way during this time period, just like not every European settler lived the same way. It all depended on where you lived. Moving on, though, focusing on what's going to be on your test. Next one, which region, coastal plain, Piedmont Mountains, did the Cherokee live? Well, give you a second to answer. You think you got it? If you said the mountains, you are correct. Good job, students. All right, next, raw materials. This one is important. Important. So, raw materials. Oh, I don't know why I'm writing so small. Hold on, I gotta fix that. Raw materials are the natural resources. Remember, natural resources are things you can find in nature. So no, your video game consoles and the metal used to make them are not natural resources. At least not without a lot of refining. Raw materials, natural resources that are used to make a product. The biggest example from your text was wood from trees. Hopefully we all know that's where wood comes from. I'm sure you did. Wood from trees is turned into lumber, which makes houses. There we go. So wood from trees turned into lumber, which is then turned into a house or a store or whatever other building you're talking about. But so the wood is the raw material. That wood from the tree, the raw lumber, is eventually turned into buildings. And that's what Europeans used a lot of the trees in the area for to build their houses. Also, American Indians used wood to build their longhouses or their other styles of housing. So this is important. I'm going to stop there for a second. We'll pause the video and give you a chance to write that all down. So hit the pause button, and then when you're ready, we'll unpause and continue. All right, I'm going to assume that by the fact that I'm still going, that you already paused, you're done, you got these things written down. Moving on to early settlers and explorers. Here's where we have the Europeans coming in. First colony in North Carolina, also known as the Lost Colony. Who remembers? All right, since I can't actually see you, I can't actually, choose someone to answer. So just think of the answer in your head if you remember it. If you said Roanoke, you are correct. Roanoke. If you remember, we talked about this. 117 men, women, and children were lost. Nobody knows what happened to them. We have a lot of theories, but we're not sure which theory is correct. All right, how did settlers get into the Piedmont? The Great Wagon Trail. Remember, it was slow going, very hard to travel on. It was actually originally an old American Indian trail that they used to get to the Piedmont. Like I said, very, very slow going. Definitely prefer the cars and planes that we have nowadays. All right, Wilderness Road. What was the Wilderness Road? It was a path from the mountains to Kentucky. I'm just going to capitalize mountains so that you know we're talking about the mountain region. To Kentucky. And it was famously explored by Daniel Boone. All right, and then which group of settlers built the city of Salem? We talked about this a while ago. If you say all right. If you said Moravians, I'm going to give you a chance to write down and to try to come up with the answers as I'm going. Correct. All right, I'm going to give you another second. We're going to pause here so you can get what you need to write down. And I would write down the questions, by the way, or at least enough of the questions to know which questions go with which answer. But that's just me. Hint, hint. Okay, if you need to, you can pause for more time. Otherwise, I am moving on to colonial life and independence. This is what we talked about right before break. Main cash crops. What do you think they are? Give you a second to think about it. If you said tobacco, rice, and cotton, you are correct. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back. All right. So the main cash crops were tobacco, rice, and cotton. Remember those cash crops that's the plants that they had that they were making money off of. Independence. What does independence mean? Well, we're going to talk about independence for this time period. It meant to the Americans, it meant freedom from British control. So what does independence mean? I'll put to the Americans. All right, freedom from British control. Freedom to govern ourselves. All right, what is a revolution? It is, oops, I will highlight this. What does a revolution mean? There's that A. Okay. It is a sudden and complete change in government. For Americans, this meant to get rid of British control and create our own government. Now, if you will remember, a few years back, or not a few years back, many years back, we talked about this right before break. The British government decided that they wanted to get as much money out of their colonists as they could because they had to pay for wars and they had to do this, that, and the other, and colonists really, really didn't like it. All right, they hated it. And what the colonists did is they boycotted tea and other items from Britain because they were protesting, saying that they did not like or agree. You don't have to put that part unless you don't understand what protests mean. So they were protesting the taxes from the British government. So boycott means to not buy. So if you don't remember what boycott means to not buy, you might just want to write down that in your notes. So why did the colonists boycott or not buy tea and other items from Britain? Because they were protesting. They were saying, "No, we won't buy your we won't buy your stuff, Britain. We're not going to buy anything from you because you are treating us unfairly. We are not going to buy anything from you until you stop taking extra money. We're just going to take care of ourselves and ignore what you have for us." All right, I will give you a second to write those down before we get to the last two, because I'm feeling that my screen is going to go up. So if you need to, as you need to, please take your time. Okay. If you need to, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to get going. We got only two more left. So Halifax Resolves. This was the first the first time. This is what I want you to know about it. First time a group of colonists declared their desire, which means their want, and remember the things in parentheses, you can, unless you don't know what the word means, you can leave that out. If you don't know what the word means, I would put it in there. All right. So it was the first time a group of colonists declared a desire officially to be independent from Britain. Oops. This made North Carolina the first state to call for independence. All right. And then finally, the Declaration of Independence. This is a huge part of American history. Huge, huge. Like, so important that there's no way on earth a teacher would forget to put this on a test because the Declaration of Independence is so extremely important. So, this was the document signed by colonists, or colonial leaders, the leaders of the colonists, in 1776, telling the British, well, the British government, but we're going to turn it to British for you, and other countries that America would become its own country, will go with its own government. Basically, there we go. Declaration of Independence basically says, yo, Britain and all your other friends over in Europe, we're done. We are no longer British. We are now Americans. We are going to have our own country. We ain't going to have a king no more. No more king. We are going to be our own country. And see you later. Now, obviously, that didn't happen because we had battles and wars. We had a whole war, the American Revolution, that it took for us to become officially free of Britain. But the Declaration of Independence was a huge stepping stone, a huge part of that. Okay. I'll leave that up there. I'll move it down a little bit so it's easier for people in the back to see. Those are the questions and answers for the test tomorrow. As I said, there were 13. I will pick 10. I'll give you a second to finish writing this. Okay. If you need to, like I said before, if you need to, you can pause the video. Your test will be tomorrow. It will contain questions from here. Maybe not the exact same words, but it'll have this information. 10 of these topics will be on your test tomorrow. All right? It is important that you wrote this down. If you need to, I'm going to post this. This is on YouTube. So you can go home and review. Okay? If anyone has any issues, please just let me know. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, your social studies lesson for today is over. You can just tuck your notes or whatever, your papers, your notebooks, whatever you took notes on, tuck them in your folder. And now it's time to listen to your teacher for what you're going to do next. All right? So with that said, have a good day, and I will see you again. Depending on which video you watch first, you'll be seeing me in another video or in person. I'm not sure. All right. Have a good day, students.